Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 cast. This one is gonna be a goofy one, as we are gonna be having a high-level 4v4 match today. It is going to be just bonkers, as we have got 4 pro-European players taking on 4 Chinese players. Let me just double check. Some of them are Chinese, some of them are from Taiwan. So that is an important distinction. And yeah, so we've kind of got just what is gonna be just a ridiculous match. 4v4 at a pro level, something that is not explored and something that is sure to be goofy. If you look at that production tab, I'm sure to miss things, but there's going to be a lot of units and a lot of craziness. So ladies and gentlemen, before we do get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead and click that like button if you want to see more crazy stuff like this. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below telling me what your favorite breakfast is. And yeah, so we're gonna see is this match is chaotic, of course. What do we have? We have got actually a bit of a bug with the UI, funnily enough. Like, it's got Skillis, who's actually a Protoss player, listed as a Terran for some reason, which is a little wonky, but no, he is indeed a Protoss player. And then it's got 2 Silkies, although one of them is definitely not Silky, one of them is Lemon, so the UI is bugging out a little bit. But anyway, we have got a Zerg, 2 Terrans, and a Protoss taking on 2 Terrans, a Zerg, and a Protoss. So we've actually got a mirror matchup between all these players. I can always toggle on and off the colors to make them independent, but it's going to be very difficult to keep tabs on that. Yeah. We are going to see where this is going to go from here, as we've got a lot of one-base plays going on. Looks like the Zergs are taking... Yeah, looks like the Zergs are the ones to take expansions. That's not surprising, as Zerg can't really function on one base like Protoss and Terran, whereas Spirit and Kelazur are going to be 2 Terrans. One of them actually is going for an expansion. That is Spirit. That's not surprising. Spirit is a player that likes to play a lot of macro. Looks like we've got a bit of a Reaper skirmish as 2 Reapers of Kelazur start chasing away the 1 Reaper of Jinji Water. Let me just double check that the name is... It's actually Orani or Kevin Liu, but I'll just go with the username here for these players, as... yeah, there's a lot of names to throw around anyway. We've got a double Adept Scout coming from one of the Protoss players. 2 Reapers, 3 Reapers are going to join on up with them to try and start putting pressure on their opponents. Meanwhile, we've got more Reapers trying to break up the top of the cliff, as all of a sudden the blue Terran may need a bit of help, but no, he holds the high ground. We've also got Lings defending. So right now it seems like it's going to be pretty hard to attack on in for either side, because of course you're going to have to be very coordinated in a 4v4 in order to be able to break through, because there's going to be 4 guys defending. And it's not as simple as just saying, oh, well, there's 4 times as many guys attacking, because you got to attack sort of as one punch. We've got a Protoss player being as Protoss as it gets here. Lemon going for a Dark Shrine. And what's the other Protoss player up to? Actually going for Stargate. So we've got the 2 extremes of Protoss here. One of them looks like there is actually a few expansions going down here, so that's good. And then Lings are now starting to run all over the map here. Lambo's got quite a decent number of Lings. We're actually seeing a Nidus go down for Silky, which could be a very strong play. What is he going to be putting inside that Nidus? That's the question. The answer is nothing. He's made a Nidus Worm, and he's getting out an Infestation Pit, but he is yet to make anything else. Looks like we have a bit of harassment going on from the DTs. Lambo does indeed have Overseers out now, but those DTs do got to get lifted up, so it looks like 1 will go down, as there was actually a pylon built at the back of the opponent's team, which is allowing DTs to warp in and is spotting for this Nidus. It's going to be Swarmhost Nidus from one of the Asian team members here. as we've got yet another Nidus going up. So one Nidus down there, one Nidus up here. Silky playing it well, as that's exactly what you want to do. You want to have Niduses popping up and all over the place like crazy. So the defense really needs to get rallied here for the European team, as there's now Locust popping up on Lambo's base. Lambo's been taking a bit of a beating as he had to deal with those DTs, and now he's got to deal with these Locusts. I mean, the Locust may actually be able to kill off his hatchery. He's going to pull his Lings in to save it, albeit just barely. It is not easy to fight to kill Locusts before they kill something else. They just have such high DPS, and because of the nature of 4v4, we're actually seeing Silky just be able to commit just purely to Swarmhost. This is not something Zerg can do in just a 1v1, as Silky's really just relying on his teammates to defend while he goes for this very niche strategy. I do love that Silky's actually bringing a Queen here to help be anti-air, tossing down a creep tumor. I really like it. Soon enough, these Locusts are going to get it tossed on out. Meanwhile, the players on the other side of the map are kind of just poking and prodding the two Terrans, the two European Terrans. What are they making? I mean, we're seeing tanks and Hellions, and then just honestly not too much, as all of a sudden the European team's going to be taking more of a beating. The Mutas do come on in to clean up those Locusts. They can fly around. They're very mobile to help shut that down. We're going to see another Nidus go on up in the back of Kelazur's base. Is Kelazur ready to deal with this? He's pulling SCVs frantically. And Silky really is the action star of this game with all of those Nidus ones. We're now seeing an attack forward, though. Kelazur had a lot of Hellions, but of course he's distracted by the Nidus in his main base, so the Asian team is stepping forward. Lots of Marines from the two Terrans, whereas it seems the two European Terrans are trying to mech, which, I mean, mech is good, but when you got like dozens of Marines stimming at your face, you can just outright die, so they're going to have to muster a strong defense here. Locusts are coming back on the right side. The European team is kind of just folding a little bit here. The Locusts kill off an engineering bay. That's not the most important pickoff, but I mean, we all know the cooldown on the Locust isn't too much. The Terran army is stimming on in for the Asian team. Those Marines are stimming down supply depots. They're going after the SCVs. Those boys are going to have to run. One carrier is coming in for Skillus, the Protoss that has slowly been building to that Sky Army, but that carrier is just going to go down. It needs support. You can't have one carrier fight like 50 Marines. Okay, it's not 50, but it's a lot of Marines, so it looks like another carrier is going to go down. That is a massive loss. This team is just taking a beating. Spirit's in a very rough spot. His main base is just, well, Kelazur's main base is just filled with Swarmhost, and this is going to put a lot of pressure on Lambo to have success. Meanwhile, Lambo on the other side of the map is actually harassing with his Mutas. He's got 19 Mutas, which is no small amount. They're able to just group up, pick things off. There's lots of opportunity for Mutas to get damage done in a game as chaotic as a 4v4 is. I mean, there's 4 times as many bases to harass at. Blinkstalkers are chasing them around, though. And meanwhile, on the front, have the Terrans held. Looks like they've held for now. There's Swarmhost in the main base, still running around in Kelazur's side of the map. Silky's Locust did get a little, or Swarmhost did get a little too greedy, as they're kind of overexposed now. They don't have an escape plan. And so it looks like the European team may hold on. Lambo really is doing the work right now of trying to get the counter damage done. The Mutas don't really have a clear answer. A few of them have gone down, but they have got damage. I'll pull up the resources lost, or the units lost tab in a second here. It's actually not pulling up the graph. I guess this game wasn't played with GameHeart, but we can see the biggest loser right now is, oh gosh, which Zerg is that? That is actually Silky. Yeah, Silky, and then followed up by Kelazur having the next big losses. So this game is a messy one for sure, but I'm enjoying every minute of it. We got lots of command centers getting thrown down by Kelazur, so he wants to get his economy going. The Mutas and Phoenix are now on patrol as the European team sort of regains control on their side of the map. Silky's Nidus was very successful. It almost looked like the European team was just going to straight up fold there. They're holding on for now. There is 2 Vipers that could be vulnerable to Mutas. Of course, that means Lambo's got to micro those. He pulls off the wrong one, so that damage does get dealt. However, now the Mutas can potentially pick off some drones. And Silky, he's making Vipers right now, but losing all of those Swarmhost was a big loss. If we do take a look at the supplies, though, Gingibi Water is looking very scary. He's going to eat a Widow Mine on top of some of his Marines, but that's just one. that actually dies. The medivacs will heal up the rest. Gingy Water has a crazy supply right now. 3-base Terran just pumping bio. Looks like Hellions are going for a run by as the European team realizes maybe they can't take on this big army. And these Marines are so darn scary. They're going to have... What are their upgrades right now? It is indeed already 1-1 Marines. There's 77, pardon me. That is a ridiculous amount of Marines. Just about a maxed out Terran. I mean, the Widow Mines can get some splash damage off, but there's going to need to be some sort of AoE to deal with this. All of a sudden, the European, or the Asian team, pardon me, is coming on in here. There's Stalkers, there's Marines, and this is not going to be easy to defend. Kelazur's got out some siege tanks, though. Those are going to be massively helpful when it comes to defending this because they can't just charge on in. Although the Protoss player, Lemon, is going to try that. He blinks on top of the tanks. He's actually able to break the tank line. A mothership comes on in. It tosses down a big time warp, but where's the rest of Skillis' army? He's got carriers coming on in. Those will be big. I mean, most of the Stalkers, I think, are dying. All of Kelazur's army's gone, so that really leaves carriers to fight Marines, and that is not good for the carriers. Most of the interceptors are dead. The Kelazur and Spirit taking a blow once again. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Lambo is just doing Zerg things, playing with mass Muta all over the place, getting whatever kills he can. So that means he's not there for the defense either, though. Skillis is making 5 carriers at a time. Somehow he's got 5 Stargates. I don't know if his teammates are feeding him stuff at this point. He does have a good number of carriers, but they really need something to go in to deal with all these Marines. Otherwise, the Interceptors will just die. Cyclones are locking onto some Stalkers. That's doing okay, but Spirit and Kelazur, they've really been having a tough time this game. Skillis is going to have to be a hero with all these carriers. He is engaging the Stalkers, which can't stand against those carriers, but the Marine problem still exists. Kelazur's coming forward with a few tanks, but they're misrallied. The carriers are starting to engage once more. It looks like one rallies out on the wrong side of town. The Interceptors all need to be released before they fight the Marines, and the Marines are a little split up. Phoenix coming in to lift up some siege tanks. Everyone's getting on board to help out here. Lambo's even made some lurkers amidst all this chaos. Well done, Lambo. That will help out against Marines. The carriers are doing well, and all the Marines are going to get cleaned up. Is there more reinforcements coming? The answer is not too much. Supplies, all of a sudden, are looking like silky with quite a decent Protoss army here. Yeah, pardon me, silky. Okay, it's a little bugged out here. It is not silky who's got that much supply. This UI really is having a hard time. It is not, it's the green player. It's Miru, pardon me. The UI really is a little bugged out here. Okay, let's take a look. Looks like a command center gets sniped down by Blink Stalkers. That hurts the Terrans, who are still taking a bit of a beating. There's lots of Marines on Skillis' side of the map still, or pardon me, on the Asian side of the map, as we've got 50 and 63, so over 100 Marines remaining for them, but now there is actually lurkers to help out with them. We see Kelazur pretty much making just siege tanks because those are good against mass Marines, but all of a sudden there is now 15 carriers, and carriers are pretty darn good. Carriers and lurkers are basically unassailable by Marines, and so we see the Zerg and the Protoss working in tandem. The lurkers on the ground are going to scare the Marines away. There's ultras that have been made by Silky. He's kind of just making whatever he can to help out. Vipers do come in. They abduct a few of the carriers. That's some nice pickoffs. Interceptors are getting shot down by the Marines en masse. The planetary fortress is going to go down, and a lot of interceptors have perished. There's 60 interceptors amongst 15 carriers, so we see a lot of those rebuilding. How many interceptors at a time? 11 at a time. The lurkers are moving forward, though. The ultras could actually be helpful with this. Meanwhile, Gingy Water is actually just moving across the map with his tanks, with his Marines, but I don't think he's going to be able to break this, as it looks like Miru is going to go for it, getting on top of the lurkers. He actually cowards out, though. I think that might have been his moment. He picked off a couple of the lurkers, but then backing out, he ate a stim pack. He doesn't have that many medivacs left. He's just holding the ground with all his Marines. We see Thors being produced as well to be an answer to these carriers. He's going to go for it now, which, I mean, it may work out. Those Marines are so softened up. They have killed off a lot of the interceptors, though. They're going to need some support. As we actually see Stalkers coming on in now, they can potentially blink on top of these carriers if they're bold enough, if the Marines are there to help. This game is just pure chaos as this is casting on hard mode. It looks like the Marines, Vipers coming on in to help out. Everyone getting on deck with the defense. This time, the Asian team coming together to help defend against all these carriers, and most of them are actually, well, a good chunk of them are going down. Not all of them yet, but yeah, a big number of them. The lurkers have died as well. Some of the carriers are getting out towards the top left, it seems. While this is going on, we're seeing mass expansions go down by the Protoss player. No wonder he was able to build a bunch of carriers, but losing those still hurts. He uses a recall, which is good, but so far the Asian team has held on. And yeah, let's take a look here. Miro with just a lot of Marines. They went through the gauntlet there. The upgrades definitely helped out. We're now seeing 3-3 upgrades on the way too. And so, let's see, Spirit's still very low on supply. I mean, what does he have for bases? Does he even have another base? Yes, he does. He's down to 95 supply. Silky, though, is still very low on supply, too. He made those Ultras. He's pretty much going just mass Viper to support his team, it seems. The Terrans on the Asian team, though, have actually just been doing so much work here. They're really carrying their team, it seems. We've also now seen lots of tanks and Thors group up on the right side. So Gingy B Water is all over the place. Lots of Marines from Mira. They're just so overstimmed. He needs some more medivacs majorly. And let's see, Kelazur, he's just turtling up as a Terran. Mass siege tanks on the ground. Not much anti-air in his army. He's leaving that to his teammates. Skillis is losing a base due to these lurkers and lings. In comes Miro, gonna potentially get a base of Lambo, and looks like he may, although carriers are coming on in, and that's not enough there to deal with those carriers. The lurkers will still be problematic. The Vipers of Silky can potentially abduct them. We actually see a blinding cloud that works just as well as an abduct, although EMPs did go down to remove some of their energy. We're seeing kind of like two pushes, although the tanks of Kelazur are holding the European defense. So the Asian team may just be better off pooling everything, and I think they are going to do that to just try and take on these carriers and lurkers. It may be a bit of an overextension by the European team. Carriers, lurkers on the ground. We're seeing Ultras step forward to try and deal with some of those lurkers, and they're doing okay, but there's still plenty on the ground. Tanks are sieging up. Ghosts are now present on both sides, but the lurkers are still staying safe for Lambo. I mean, what's the economy like for both these sides? I really can't say, as it's just so hard to look at everything. Lambo doesn't have, that much of an income, it would seem. Let's pull that up. You guys can look at that. Pause the video if you want to see who's in the lead, but the lowest right now is Spirit. The most is actually Lemon, the Blink Stalker player, who's bringing in 4,000 minerals a minute just about, which is just a crazy. How many workers does he have? He's got 94 probes, just mass Blink Stalkers. It's not the most efficient style, that's for sure. If they dumped all that money into something else, it might be a lot better. Although, I mean, he does have a crazy amount of Blink Stalkers. He can make lots of plays, but there's Widowmine siege tanks. It's not easy to break through that with mass Stalkers. You're at least going to take a lot of losses, and we are seeing that more tanks sieging up for Kelazur. He does lose quite a few command centers, though. Meanwhile, on the front, the carriers and lurkers are pushing on in once again. The Asian team is under fire here as they're kind of separated right now, and they need to fight those carrier interceptors with everything they have. They can't be split up to deal with this. Those lurkers need to siege, I think, or those tanks need to siege, pardon me, but yeah, I don't know if they got enough anti-air here to actually deal with this. The Stalkers cannot fight interceptors. They can maybe blink on top of the carriers, but if they do that, they're going to die to the lurkers. It's a bit of a problem. There's Stalkers all over the place. It looks like Kelazur moved forward with a lot of his siege tanks. They're not going to be able to kill those Stalkers, though. Silky has got, or Lemon, pardon me, has got still an insane economy. Skillis is pushing forward with his deathfall of carriers. I mean, he's got 200 supply in carriers. And in goes Skillis. As this game has just been chaos, we're seeing Infestors wander forward. Big fungal growths go down. They hit pretty much all the carriers. Everyone's coming in. Most of the lurkers on the ground have died. The carriers are in trouble. Are we going to see a recall, or will they be able to make it through? There is a recall. A lot of them did perish, though. And so once again, the Asian team is able to muster their defense. What a match this was. As, man, oh man. His game is just ridiculous. Kelazur coming forward with his mass siege tanks. Lurkers coming on in too. There's not a lot of anti-air in this army, but that doesn't really matter because the Asian team doesn't have a lot of air units at all. So we're actually seeing some liberators be made as they realize that. But also, pretty much every base on this map has been taken, so these players are fighting over resources. We actually see Spirit sending SCVs, but there's already a base here, so he's gonna move down there to try and take that out. Meanwhile, the top left has a Nexus being attacked by an Ultra, a fresh planetary to be mined out. Stalkers are poking over here. I mean, there is so many Stalkers that are going down here, as it's been 37k lost for the Orange Protoss player. He's burning money like mad. We're seeing a nice push. Carriers and siege tanks is basically the same as carriers and lurkers, and that is a deep line from Telazur. He's got a lot of tanks. He's got 20 siege tanks, and so the Asian team is having a hard time dealing with this. They're really running out of money. The one Protoss player that has money is making just mass Stalkers, and I don't know if that's going to be it or not. Looks like they are just really trying to hold on to these bases down here, but the lurkers are problematic. And we're seeing just in 4v4 how crazy it is here with the fact that like a player can make just tanks or just lurkers or just carriers and then support their teammates in these just ridiculous interactions. Stalkers are blinking on top of the siege tanks once again, but it's not great trades for the Protoss, and he can't really help his team in these big fights because Stalkers just suck against siege tanks and carriers. We are seeing some of the bio chase down some of the carriers somehow, as I guess the siege tanks might have actually gone down, which surprises me, but I guess that did happen. And so these Terran players are still fighting. There's not a lot of money left to be had on the Asian side of the map, I don't think. But then the European side, I mean, some of them are doing well, some of them are not doing so well. Spirit's been just doing horrible this entire game. He's trying to trickle out some ghosts, maybe get some high-value shots off. We're now seeing Ultras come on in with Stalkers, an Ultra Stalker army. That's a pretty cool force. Lambo's got a lot of drones, long-distance mining. He doesn't have much of an income right now, as, yeah, Lambo, yeah, he really doesn't have much money at all, so those lurkers he lost, he's having a hard time. We're seeing mass scans go all over the place as Terrans utilize that. We're even seeing Spirit go for a nuke, which seems like a bit of a meme at this point, but we've got mass mines and ghosts. This nuke will actually land, I think. It seems like forever in this 4v4 with everything else going on, but it does get a lot of kills. 14 kills on that ghost, and that Nexus is going to die. So the European team is assaulting this side of the map. Widow Mines are holding the bio at bay, but once the bio gets on top of these ghosts and on top of these Cyclones, they're just going to die. They can't fight those Stalkers, which just recalled in there, and all this bio. Let's see. The European team is trying to hold on to the top left, but with not really having too much income left, I think they may be running out of steam. The highest supply European right now is Telazur, whereas most of the Asian team has got some pretty good supply, has got some pretty decent supply right now. Telazur, he's even, well, no, that's actually Spirit losing a base that he can't really afford to replace, and what a scrappy game this is. Lambo does have a lot of lurkers that he squeezed on out, though. It's just so hard to keep track of who's got what at this point in the game. There's a nuke still on deck for Spirit, but it would have to be the mother of all nukes to dig them out of this hole that the European team has found themselves in. Lurkers are coming forward, and lurkers are pretty darn good. Marines, though, do kill off, I think, a Viper or two there. And then just, yeah, we see Ultras killing off the siege tank. Silky, with his mass Ultra style, is doing pretty darn good. So that is freeing up the top left for the Asian team. The bottom right is secured for the Asian team still. That Nexus didn't die, and so there's just really not a lot left. A nuke goes down. Good luck finding that on a map like this. That nuke is just right on that Nexus. I don't know if Silky's or if Lemon's gonna see that. I think he's gonna lose all those probes. Let's see. Yeah, that nuke's gonna hit. Ba-boom by Spirit. As, let's see, there's pings going all over on the map as these players try and group up. Looks like Skillis has got himself a decent bit of army supply. Quite a few carriers out still, which are not to be underestimated. There is mass Vipers, 4 abducts though against this. Lurkers on the ground are their support, and there is a lot of lurkers to support them. So in goes the Terran bio, but it's got to get out of there. Look at all those spines that go off. I mean, the mothership may die, but these lurkers are still doing work. So just when I thought the Europeans were in a really rough spot, they are starting to strike back. Meanwhile, though, bio does break the planetary fortress of Telazur. He's pulling SCVs to defend on the front. There's not that many Stalkers attacking, but there's still a few too many. What is left to defend for the two Terrans who've been getting beaten up all game? They probably should have played bio like their opponents did. Although we do see Telazur actually not having anything to defend because he seemingly brought it all in this Hail Mary push. Skillus having to split his carriers to avoid all those spells of Silky. It's like, I mean, the Asian team got a nice push off there, but now all of a sudden they're like, oh, we really got to defend this as the push is coming in. Siege tanks grouping up with lurkers, so scary on the ground. There is ghosts that can get snipes off. The ultras will definitely help out. I mean, this is a big push by the Europeans, though I apologize for the mass scan sound. And oh, Silky is just counterattacking. There is ghosts and tanks and cyclones to defend these ultras, and I think they may be able to defend this. We'll see. As, yeah, the Jin player a little bit undecisive here, going back and forth. Meanwhile, the tanks and lurkers are still pushing in. No side's main base has been too compromised yet, but they're looking to change that as ultras are being kited by tanks. It's like the cinematic here, as now we are still seeing mass, or just the push continuing on. There is mass Archons made by the Protoss player, finally spending his money on something other than Stalkers. I don't know if that's going to be enough, though, but it looks like the Asian team is pulling the trigger, and what a beautiful surround we see. The tanks, the lurkers, I don't know if there's going to be enough, and I think that may be the European team's last effort failing there. Lurkers are coming in, but they were not there to help out with the fight. They may get some good spines off, but yeah, that was pretty much everything going down. Kelazur is down to 5 supply, Lambo to 100. Meanwhile, there's still just lots of money coming on in, and that is going to be GG as the Asian team is able to take this game. I think it's safe to say they've got all the bases and they've got the game. So yeah, Miru, Lemon, Gingy, Bewater, and Silky were able to win that match, and what a match it was. Let me just make sure I get the names right. According to Wikipedia, it was Silky, Oriana, Lemon, and Kevin Liu against Spirit, Skillus, Lambo, and Kelazur. I know the UI was a little bit messed up there. When I hovered on players, it showed their names correctly. But for some reason, we had, like, Skillus was listed as another Silky, and then Lemon was, like, Skillus on the UI, which was just bizarre. But then again, Starcraft 2 isn't really designed for 4v4 casts, or at least the Observer UI I didn't use was. I may try a different Observer UI for the next time to see if it fixes that. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed this one and you watched all the way to the end, make sure to go ahead and click that like button. If you want to see more crazy 4v4, subscribe. Yeah, if you watched all the way to the end of this and you enjoy the commentary, I put out daily StarCraft 2 videos here. If you want to support these kind of crazy casts, become a YouTube member. I don't have like Twitch subs or Patreon, but the YouTube membership program is pretty cool, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.